What's good, y'all? Jakob Owens here, back for another video. Today we're gonna do kind of like a breakdown tutorial of my latest films. So I just released The Strangers, a fan film, and I'm releasing this other one, Makeout Massacre, and I've been getting a lot of questions into kind of the breakdown of those videos of how they were lit, how they were colored, a little bit of sound design. So I'm kind of gonna do a little tutorial today on a bunch of those different things. And I actually have for each one of those a 45 plus minutes in depth, like raw footage BTS. So it's basically like, it's kind of like a live stream, but condensed down to 45 minutes of the best behind the scenes parts, like you're physically there on set watching us make this movie. So those, I'll link that in the description below as well, because that's really cool, and I want to offer that more for people who want filmmaking and on-set experience but can't physically be there, and that's what this is basically like. It's basically like you're on set there with us. So there's that. I'm gonna get into the breakdown of these videos, kind of like how we lit it, and some of my favorite lighting and shooting techniques, which we used in these films. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of go in, break it all down, and hopefully you guys will stick around and join me. All right, so right now we're gonna get into breaking down a lot of the cinematography, shooting style, sound, color of Makeout Massacre. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the movie. It came out already, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it before you watch this, because I don't want any like spoilers or whatever. But if you have seen it, this is gonna be the breakdown of that. So basically used 3 lights, actually 4 lights in this whole short. One of which was an M18 set to daylight. That's this blue that you're seeing here. Balanced at daylight. The M18 was raking through the forest to kind of create moonlight. And basically how we were able to cool it off a little bit, because as you know, daylight is 5600, it's a little warmer. We shot it daylight, but we, in camera, color temp wise, we dropped to about 4500. So by dropping the color temperature, that cools off the light and kind of gives it this blue kind of feel, makes it look like moonlight. So that's a really good trick. If you're wanting to do like a moonlight look, just use a daylight balanced light, and then you're just in camera, use around 4500 Kelvin temperature, and that'll give you kind of this cooled off blue kind of moonlight look. Then that's raking across the car as well, so that's lighting this car, the trees, the ground, all that stuff. And then inside we have rigged a 1-foot quasar set to tungsten, and that is diffused a little bit as well. We have a little diffusion around it, and that's literally, it's right in the dash right below, kind of where their feet are at, and that's lighting them in the car. So that's kind of the main setup. And then throughout there's a moment where we have either a sky panel or a light mat kind of filling in some of the shadow areas. I think off camera right here we had the airy sky panel like on 10% or something, just kind of hitting the front of the car, but that wasn't doing much in this scene. So as we move in, you can see kind of the moonlight affecting the rim of the edges of the car, and then we complement that with the warmth of the dash light interior being tungsten. If that would have been cool as well, the shot just has no depth really to the color palette, because you have basically blue and everything kind of just becomes blue. But because we, you know, had the balance between the two, we had the daylight cooled off, we have details here, and then they, in the warmth of the tungsten quasar, really pop. And so you can see it here on the window, a little bit of blue contrasting, and you know, with the tungsten light on the inside. Dash light. And then back here, all we did to out of the back of the car, we had a light mat. I think it was at like 20% daylight as well, motivating also from the M18, the airy M18 in the forest, and that's kind of just lighting the back of the car a little bit, maybe the back of them a little bit. It was very low, 20%. We just wanted to add a slight bit of detail back there, nothing major. So anytime, basically our 2 main key lights, the M18 and the quasar. And then anything around the shot, we might have like pushed in a little soft light from somewhere. And you'll see that in a couple of the behind the scenes shots that I throw up. But yeah. Let's see here, let's keep moving along here. So for this setup interior, basically M18 coming through back here, you can see it's kind of affecting the hood of the car a little bit. And then really just working off of this, this interior quasar look. I think we again had a light matte coming from the back at like 10%, and just simple, same kind of lighting setup, nothing too dramatic. And so here, M18, you can see it kind of highlighting, coming through, streaking on the ground here, and that's where we end up putting his boot. Had him step right into the light. You can see it lighting the background a little bit, the edge of the car, giving some nice depth. And then here's a good example. So this is like movie night is what they call it. You know what I mean? Because in the forest, in the middle of the night, you're not going to see crap. It's going to be black. You're not going to see the trees like that. But it works in a movie. When you're watching a movie, the whole forest will be lit up and it seems like it's moonlight. But it's like, in all actuality, it looks nothing like that. And they call that movie dark. And so this way to get movie dark is you push a big light like an M18 through the forest really far away. It kind of hits all the different, hits the ground, trees, glistens some things, lights it up a little bit, so you can add texture and depth to your shot and kind of rim and edge your talent, but it doesn't just like boom, high key light them or the scene. It's just mainly used for background texture and depth. And then lighting him, we had a little we had the airy sky panel off to the right here, I think at like 40%, and that's what's kind of filling him here. That's why he's kind of lit right here, is because we're motivating basically that daylight that's coming back through here. We're, you know, using that as motivation to light him from the front with the airy sky panel. But we don't want to like really light him, because then it's obvious. It's like, okay, well, where's that light coming from? So you just subtly put it up there to light him up enough to where you can see him, and it's the same color temperature, so it matches. So you can see M18 giving him a nice hard edge, and that's the sky panel working right there. Again, it was like at 40%, so just enough to where you can see him and his face isn't just black. Because if that wasn't right there, like look, his face would just be completely dark and black. So it just, again, we're filling out that side. And again, like I mentioned in the Strangers breakdown, we're always shooting shadow side. So we're always shooting on the side of the shadows. And you can see, you know, even back when we were back here, shooting on the shadow side. We're on the right side looking this way. You know, always shooting shadow side for the dramatic look and feel. That'll give you the most drama. Again, here, M18, we put a little like 7-inch quasar that's magnetic in the hood to add like a little texture to the hood when he's coming around, so it wasn't just black. Because it just looked black, it was just dark. So you throw in that little bit of light and it adds that little bit of texture and depth, so you can see the hood of the car as he's coming around. Get the depth from the back. M18, lighten him up. Here's the sky panel, again around 40%. And when he's swinging around front, boom, we put SK in that streak of light, and then yank him back. And then for this scene right here, when he pushes back, you kind of catch a flare off of the M18 right there. You can see it kind of back there. And then this, let's go to the last setup here. All right, so right here, here's where she's coming up to the window, and she comes up to the window, and again, we have the moonlight kind of hitting her face, the quasar on the inside there. And then anytime you want to see, like I said, create kind of some drama, had we had a key light, like I said, you always shoot shadow side. So we're shooting shadows looking this way, and he's like backlit. Now, if we were to shoot it differently or light it differently, where we had all this light hitting the side of his face, we kind of lose that dark, dramatic vibe and feel, because we would just be able to see everything. So we're still, with the way we're lighting it and shooting it, we're able to see the details of blood in his hands, and he's messed up, but we get a nice edge to it with his face, and it's still dramatic. We get the backlight and are able to see the blood in his breath on the window because of the light shooting from the back. And then we complement that with the warmth in the foreground, with the quasar hitting her and framing her just in the shot, because we could have framed her out and completely just had him in the shot, but framing her in there as well just creates, like I said, that nice color contrast between the two. Boom, screen grab. So yeah, if you don't know how to screen grab inside Premiere, you just hit this little export frame and it's saved right to your desktop or hard drive, wherever you want. It saves the full res file. So then she gets dragged out, boom, boom, we cut wide, and you can kind of see the setup here minus the other lights. So in this scene, all that we had going on was the little quasar. You can actually kind of see it right there. There's the quasar uplighting the hood, and then the M18 is off here to the right, shooting through the forest, hitting the car, stroking through the trees right here, and aiming, hitting the window. You can see the little bit of blood there. And yeah, that's it. Really all the scene is that little quasar, the M18, and the headlights of the car, obviously. So yeah, that's the breakdown of lighting and kind of the shooting style of that one. I'll touch on the color really quickly. If I just go, let me find a good little clip here. Actually, we'll just use, we'll use this blood one right here. All right, so color-wise, very similar to The Strangers, very subtle, didn't do much to it, but kind of crushed the blacks. So if I take this on and off, toggle it, the lumetri color, there is basically the raw footage right there. And then let's see if it'll register here. I'm gonna toggle that back on, and there is with the color on. So just basically enhancing it a little bit, didn't change much, just boosted the contrast, boosted the whites. You can see it's kind of flat, and so I boosted the highlights to kind of give it a little more pop. I think I boosted the saturation a little bit. Yeah, you can see it's a little more flat right here, and then it gets a little more yellow and orange. So I really just boosted the contrast so those blues and oranges really stood out against each other. And that's the generic color on and off that I colored in lumetri color. And again, I used the Fuji Eterna 250D LUT inside of Premiere, just at 55% intensity, a slight faded film to give it a slight little fade, and then yeah, you can see I boosted the highlights right there. And then that's really it for the color. I did that, and then as always, I add levels to just crush it a bit further. So I added a little bit of levels to give it a little more crush. And then from there, I wanted to do something a little more stylistic, and so I went to Magic Bullet Looks, their plugin, and added some diffusion. And the diffusion kind of gives like a subtle glow. Let's see if we can see it here. It's a cool, if you want to add a little glow to your shots, diffusion plugin inside of Magic Bullet adds a nice little glow. So here you can see it on her, so watch her face right here, or her head right here as I toggle it on and off. So there's off, there's on. It's just kind of this softened glow a little bit, and it adds a glow to the highlights. And because this was like a vintage kind of retro piece, you know, set in the 70s, I wanted it to have a slightly more glowy kind of older school look, so I added that little bit of glow. In regards to sound, much like The Strangers, pulled the sound off of, you know, the pack that I have from Boom Library, their horror pack. Just working the sound design all myself as well inside of here. Small little details, like I mentioned before in The Strangers, using reverb. There's a moment like where a stick breaks and she turns her head, and I threw on a little reverb so it feels like it's kind of like off in the distance, and then kind of cracking in the distance, because if you don't add that reverb, it sounds like it's right there. So little details like that matter. Adding reverb to make it seem like that stick crack is far away, or maybe it's closer, or you add a pitch shifter like to the monster growl. There's like a monster growl, and I added a pitch shifter, and I shifted it to be a little more deep, a deeper voice. Like, yeah, so right here, pitch shifter, and I took it from 0 to -10, and it just gives it a deeper, girthier growl. And so just little details like that matter when you're working sound and sound design. And so that's what I did inside of this piece, how we lit this one, how I colored it, all inside Premiere. Didn't use any other program, After Effects, any other color suite, sound design suite. Everything was done straight in Premiere. All right, guys, hopefully this video helped. If I didn't answer any questions that you have about this, let me know. But we also have a super in-depth 45-minute behind-the-scenes video on the entire, basically the entire film. So it's like you're live on set with us, basically like we live stream the set, but condensed it into the best 45 minutes for you, so you can get that on-set experience without physically being on set. We let the takes run all the way through, talking about how we're gonna shoot the scene, how we're gonna light it, actually the action, cut, everything super in-depth, raw. So it's basically like you are sitting on set watching, but you can watch it from the comfort of your own home. So I'll link that in the description below. It's only $5, better than any film school experience I ever had at ASU. You know, if there's something like that was offered when I was there, I would have jumped on that. But yeah, so you know, hopefully we can offer more like that in the future with all of our projects, but make sure to go check that out. Or at the very least, just go check out the free behind the scenes we have on this channel. You can go watch that. It's like 3 minutes long, kind of a little highlight piece. So, all right, that's it. That's all. I'm done rambling and talking about this. Go enjoy the movie if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it and you did like it, thanks, let me know. And that's really it. I'm Jakob Owens for the Buff Nerds, and I'm out.